Hi guys, Tracy here from Red Wind Studio here in Cambridge, Ontario, and we're located at 645 King Street East in the Preston section of Cambridge. And today I wanted to talk to you guys about brush care. And a lot of you that are painting furniture have invested in good brushes, and you want those brushes to last. You don't want to use them a couple of times and have to replace them. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how to make them last longer and how to take great care of them. So I've got a couple different brushes here. So I've got the Klingon brush, which is one of my new favorites. It is a little bit different than probably what you're used to seeing. And then I've got the big poofy natural bristle brush that sort of goes hand in hand with chalk paint. So if you have one of these, or whether you have one of these tips will help make your brushes last. Now, the first thing that I want to talk about is not even cleaning the brush. It has to do with cleaning it and will relate to it, but it isn't actually cleaning it. So before you even start painting with your brush, you've got a nice project that you want to work on, and you want to delve in. This is something that I always tell my customers. I had a workshop last night, and before we started painting, this is something that I explained to everybody, how to deal with the brushes and how to use them properly. So the first thing you want to do is you always, unless you're dry brushing or stenciling, those are the exceptions. If you're going to be painting, you want to wet your brush. Even if you're going to be doing wall painting and you're cutting in and doing that sort of stuff with the brush, you want to wet your brush ahead of time before you use it. You don't want it to be sopping wet, but you do want it to be moist. Now I've got one here behind me, soaking already. So all I do is I set it in some water for a little while, give it a good squish out, and it doesn't have to sit in there for very long, like 30 seconds or so. Get it wet, squish it out, and then you're just going to give it a few really good shakes to get that excess water out of it, so it's not going to thin your paint out. You're just going to have a nice damp brush. Now the reason for that is, and here comes the cleaning part of it, when you're painting, and if you haven't done this before, I'm sure you know, as you paint, you only dip your brush in about this far, but as you're painting away, the paint tends to have a way of working its way up to the furrow. And now on these brushes on the Klingon, they have the string tied around them as well. On this, it's just the furrow right down here at the bottom. So as the paint works its way down here, and you're working and you've been painting for maybe a couple of hours or whatever, that paint all starts to dry and get gummed up, and then you go to try and wash it, and it's really difficult to get the paint out from all down in near the furrow. And if you don't, your brush after a while is going to start to splay and do weird things and get out of shape, and it'll get all hard and crunchy, and it's just a big mess. So if you wet your brush ahead of time, it stays damp down in here, which makes it easier for the paint to come off when you go to clean it later. And this is the part that you really want to make sure. Obviously you want to get this part clean, but you also want to be able to get the paint all out from down in here where the bristles are nice and tight and compacted. And the easiest way to do that is to make sure your brush is damp while you're using it. So that's the one tip. The next thing is actually cleaning your brushes. So if you can't get to cleaning them right away, make sure that you've got a little container of water. Now, I don't know whether you can see where the line of water is. So on this one, the water is about here. If I was to put my brush in it, that wouldn't be too bad. You want your brush to be able to sit in the water without the furrow being immersed. So your bristles are in the water, and that can sit for a while. It's better if it's supported and hanging and the bristles aren't actually resting on the bottom of the cup. So if you have a way to suspend it, a oh my goodness, my brain isn't working, uh, a little clip so that you can clip it and have it sitting on the edge of the container so it's suspended is the best. So you're not having weight down on the bristles and possibly bending them. Same with this type of brush. That is fine. You can have it sitting in the water like that for a while. But once you have time to go back and clean it, you want to make sure that you're using a gentle soap on your brushes, especially if they're a natural bristle brush, because this is real hair. And if it gets too dried out, it will start to break off, just like your normal hair. If it gets too dry, it'll break, and your brushes will work and get shorter and shorter. So a good alternative to um, to regular soap or dish soap is the Murphy's oil soap. It's a lot gentler. If you have hand soap, um, that is more gentle. It's not going to be as drying. Dish soaps tend to want to get rid of grease and oils, so they're not actually the best. I know that's what I use most of the time because it's cheap, but um, you guys have paid a lot for your brushes, so um, you're not paying as much as I am, and uh, doing workshops and having 20 brushes that have to be washed all at the same time. So if you can use a gentler soap on them, make sure that you're getting the soap right down into this section down in here and rinse them really, really well. If you can hang them to dry, that is the best thing to do them. Don't have them sitting like this. That's not good for the bristles. And if necessary, have them lying down if you can't hang them. And allow them to dry thoroughly. And when you store them, again, if you can store them hanging, that is the best. If not, like this, and not crowded so that they're pushing on each other or cramming the bristles and making them bend in weird directions or anything. So those are my basic tips in regards to keeping your brushes in good shape and making them last a long time. Most of the paints that we're using here in the studio and you would be using to paint your furniture are all water soluble. So it's water and soap to keep them clean. But remember, wet them beforehand, and it'll make the cleanup a lot easier at the end of the day. So if you have any questions in regards to that, please drop me a line. Come on into the studio. You can ask your questions in person. Come in and check out the brushes that we have. Anything that you'd like. So hop on down to the studio. Again, we're here at 645 King Street East in Cambridge, and I'd love to see you. Have a great day, guys.